Pokémon! But I want to become a famous YouTuber.
Money!
So today, I will complete Pokemon Fire Red while standing on one leg. The pain was immense and the suffering was great, but hopefully my feet will recover soon. With this new added rule, Pokemon somehow turned from an easy children's game to Dark Souls on steroids. You might be wondering why I did this. Anyways, let's get the run started. I start my emulator, my console, put my webcam at the right angle, and here we go. I start the run and do the classic thing, naming myself a yada yada. You might already notice something strange. I am using my chair. This is my way of making sure I don't fall. No, not like that. With the chair at my disposal, I could use it to maintain my balance, which was an absolute lifesaver. Anyways, we encounter our first important decision, the starter. Last time I played this game, I chose Squirtle, and it didn't go so well. And most importantly, you can easily get a Gyarados as your water type, so I ruled him out instantly. Then you have the last two, and I personally decided to pick Charmander. I didn't know it yet, but this would be the biggest mistake of the run. But, well, what do you want? Everyone makes mistakes, right? Anyways, I beat up my rival, go get the parcel, and get the Pokeballs, and that's where the second mistake comes. I caught a Rattata. Look, I thought having a strong early game Pokemon would be a good idea, but in hindsight, Charizard and Nidoking can easily destroy the entire early game. And if you don't know what Nidoking I'm talking about, keep watching the video, man. If you thought the Rattata was a tragedy, get this. Right before that, something even more tragic happened. I realized just how painful this challenge would be. Okay, so it's very painful, even like 2 minutes in, right? You need to understand, I'm already feeling pain that I could only describe as if a giant Giga Chat was putting all of his giga weight on my foot. The actual pain didn't come from my legs. No, what really crushed my hopes and dreams was the immense pain in my foot. This is now time to talk about the most important resource of this challenge, my sanity. It is possible for me to stand on one foot for a long period of time, but the pain makes it almost unbearable. So the longer I play the game, the more likely it is for me to just crack and give up. In order to lessen the pain, I decided to lean in, and it felt a bit more tolerable, but I don't know why. For the entirety of the game, I would have to use such desperate tactics to maintain the shred of hope that I could potentially get through all of this. I then spent a good amount of time training both Pokemons and then fought my rival, which in hindsight were both massive wastes of time. The bug trainers in the forest were clearly enough. Speaking of those guys, that was my next up, and I annihilated them. In the video footage, I am almost never talking, but that was not because I was gamer concentrating, even though I was. No, the real reason I was not talking was because I was listening to some videos to keep me entertained and to keep me from going crazy. It's thanks to that I got to the very first gym. I had to try 2 times to beat him because Onyx one-shot crit me on my first attempt. But after a lot of Ember and Iron Claws, I managed to defeat him, making my way towards the new route, switching between Rattata and Charmander, which then evolved soon after. This is where I caught a very important piece of the run, the Nidoran male. Another very important person came to assist me, and that was the Magikarp. They would both grow to become very important assets to my team, but for now, I had to level them up, and you have no idea how tragic that is when you have a constant foot destruction going on at the same time. But it was extremely important to do so, as I would never be able to finish this game without those 2 Pokemon. We would later come to find out that you clearly can, which means my foot could have been saved. I decided to get my Nidoking first, and then my Gyarados. I enter the cave, battle a few trainers, but most importantly, get the Moonstone and the Revive. I then come to the guy with the fossils, which after defeating him, made my Nidoran evolve. After this, the good old Moonstone was used to transform him into an absolute Giga Chat. That's what was putting so much weight on my foot. After that, I leave the cave and teach Mega Kick to my new alpha male, only to put Magikarp at the first slot of my team, since I am now ready to level him up. I go to fight my rival, which was not a walk in the park, but that's only because I used my Magikarp a lot to get some EXP. This is something that took a lot of time, always switching from my Magikarp to someone else in my team, even with the speed up. But that was completely mandatory considering the monster that this fish fish would become. In the meantime though, my foot really hurt. I then grabbed the ticket to the boat and fought the second gym leader. It was an absolute nightmare and I didn't know how I would ever beat it, so instead of leveling up all my Pokemons, which would have taken forever, I decided to catch a grass type to do that part. The new Oddish, however, was not high enough level to compete in the second gym, so I decided to move on in the game and level him up in the meantime. You would think that considering the massive difficulty of this challenge, I would have devised a strong plan to get me through, but not at all. I am nothing but a slightly experienced casual player. I managed to beat the game once, but as you've seen with all my mistakes, I'm not the most intelligent Pokemon player. I now went to the new city, but before that, I dropped my Magikarp at the daycare and battled a few trainers. I tried to level up my Oddish in the cave, but then I realized it was too long, so I went to the daycare again not long after and swapped my Magikarp for my Oddish. In the meantime, I went to good old boat and without wasting any time, went straight for my rival. The battle was a nightmare. I started this fight with my Nidoking and destroyed his Pidgeotto quick and easy. He then sent his Kadabra. Knowing that this wasn't much of a threat, I switched for my Magikarp to get him some EXP, and then went back to my Charmeleon. He could unfortunately not do anything because Amber got disabled. I then switched yet again, this time to my Rattata, which got demolished in 2 seconds, only to send back my starter. I launch a few attacks. Keep in mind, I'm trying to go as fast as possible because god, it hurts, and then guess what happens? This swaps Pokemons to the one that destroys me. Obviously, I'm gonna get demolished, so I swapped to my Nidoking. I was going to kill him, but unfortunately, my second Mega Kick did not hit. That left me with 0 PP on my best attack. So half-heartedly, I go for a peck, which did basically nothing to his health bar. He then killed my Pokemon, which left me with my Magikarp and my starter. A truly disastrous outcome. I sent out my Charmeleon and healed him, but with the lack of good moves to use, I couldn't do anything before he eliminated me. This is the end. I just lost 5 minutes and we will have to try again. No, seriously, that's a big issue. My foot is in pure agony right now. Wait, what is this? The revive that I found in the cave. Will this be our savior? Yes, it will. After reviving my Nidoking, he was able to destroy all the Pokemons that came his way. And most importantly, gave me some hope. Yeah, because remember, we still only have 1 badge and I'm already really suffering. I take the cut HM, teach it to my Rattata, and then remember I still haven't actually earned the second gym. I go back to the daycare to pick up my Oddish, and then face off against the second gym leader. Remember, all that moving around and the past 16 steps it took to get there could all have been avoided if I decided to pick Bulbasaur instead. You'd think I would use my brain, but remember, I'm playing on 1 foot, so using my brain was already out of the equation to begin with. I did nothing special in this battle. I used sleeping powder and bullet seed for a while, but then my Oddish died. But not to worry, my Rattata was strong enough to finish the job with a Hyper Fang crit. We can now finally move on from this nightmare. Oh wait, no. I still have 6 more badges to go and an entire Elite Four to beat. I move on to the next gym, face the 2 useless trainers, and work on the awfully useless puzzle. After that's done, I battle the best gym leader. Oh god damn! 3rd gym leader. I start out with some Rock Toms, which I learned specifically for this gym, and destroy his entire team, all with 1 Pokemon. I then drop my Oddish into the depths of the PC, never to be used again.
Know your place, trash.
It was now time to go through the freaking cave to get Flash, because I thought it would be easier than getting the map online. Oh hey, my Rattata evolved. My foot hurts too, but that's fine, no problem with that. I then get Flash. Oh, why the heck is that required? So yeah, getting a map on the internet would have been a lot better, but I'm already committed, so I go out and capture a Diglett and then finally get Flash. But before moving on in the game, I go retrieve my Magikarp, which is now level 16. I battle a few useless trainers to train my good old fish and my team as a whole. I get to the cave and realize none of my Pokemons can learn Flash. Back at it again in the Pokemon Center, where I get my Oddish to learn it. He was useful after all. I entered the cave and unfortunately, tragedy happened. For the past hour, I had been standing on the exact same leg, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I was literally sweating from the intense position I had to maintain the whole time. I think my past self explains it the best. The pain is not too bad, but it's constant. I could potentially last a bit longer, but no way would I be able to last until the end of the game. I decided to allow myself to swap between my two legs, so that it would be less painful to handle. I know some people will consider this as a failure, but I didn't want to give up just yet. There weren't only bad news though. My Magikarp evolved into a Gyarados, and I thought him Water Pulse at the same time. With the pain away, I felt really confident that I would be able to finish this game in a few hours, and without going through hell at that. Oh boy, was I wrong. This challenge will follow me to my grave, and even in the afterlife. Once I arrived at the creepy city itself, I go up to battle my rival. It went extremely well considering I now have a solid team of 4 really good Pokemons. I then realized I couldn't really do anything in the tower. That realization made me so mad that I put my Raticate in the PC. No, but for real, he's not going to be very useful in the endgame. And I need to give all the EXP I can to my elite Pokemon. So unfortunately, I had to make a cut. Thank you very much for your services. I then arrive in the city with Eevee. I'm not googling the name of all the cities for the script. I'm also doing the script on one foot, so I have no time to waste. I get the new Pokemon, name it A, just like myself, and go and buy an electric stone, which by itself took a good 2 minutes because I was lost. That gave me my new elite electric Pokemon. I teach my Gyarados Hyper Beam, Dig to Nidoking, and Shockwave to whatever this thing is called. I then destroyed the entire grass gym with 0 issues, whether skill issues or feet issues, since my destroyed foot was resting on my leg. I then went to the casino and got completely lost in the Team Rocket's lair. So still on one foot, I went closer to my setup to look up online where the you're supposed to go. Once I knew that, I played a bit more, but at this point, it had been more than 90 minutes since I started this challenge, and I really needed to pee. And no, unfortunately, I did not go pee on one leg. I know, I'm ashamed of it myself. Even worse, I took a little break while sitting on my chair. Like, bro, I am cringing at the sight of this. Anyways, I destroyed Giovanni and go back to the tower. It was the perfect place to level up my electric type, and I had no excuse pain-wise since I just had a break. And then guess what happened? I did the entire tower up to the very end and then forgot to talk to the old man. I then went to Snorlax. Weird. I don't have the flute. I wonder why. This is how you clearly see how affected I was by the fact that I was playing on one leg. Okay, I'm just dumb. I'll stop making excuses. I then go back and take the flute. And guess what? You need the bike to go through. Out of rage for the bullshit this game asks of you, I go to the next city. You know, the one that has the 2 gyms. No, I'm not googling the names of the city. We've already talked about this. I do the entire gym with no problem, and looking back, I don't even know if this was mandatory. Spoilers, it's not. I then arrive in the tower while watching a guide on YouTube to know how to get through as fast as possible. All my Pokemons got sucked off their health, but I won on the very first try. I then get the Lapras and go for the man himself, Giovanni. My Gyarados fainted because of some goddamn poison. I then sent my Nidoking, sent my Charmeleon only for him to die, and go back to Nidoking anyways. Looking back on it, I really have no idea what I was doing. I then end her Nidoqueen with my very own Nido. I end it with a quick attack. Happy about this. First thing I do after this is get rid of my Lapras. Then get the Master Ball and flee using an escape rope. Psychic Gym next it was, and it took me ages to find my way through the freaking gym. 7 minutes to be exact. I then destroy her entire team with Gyarados' big moves like Hyper Beam. But I ran out of PP, which forced me to use bad moves, so I switched to A, this one, and rolled through her entire team. Alakazam is next, and I try to get my starter out. Nope. Do you get what I mean when I said this starter was a mistake? Oh, but buddy, this is only just getting started. I then sacrifice A to revive Gyarados since he has a dark type move. Nope. Alright then, I send out my other A and try to revive Gyarados yet again. Skill gaming, baby. Then, after a lot of skill pressing the A button, it does take a lot of skill when you're on one leg. I use Dragon Rage and take the Alakazam down. This was way harder than it should have been, and that's a massive indicator of how the rest of the run is going to go. I went to pee a second time and then finally got on my way to acquire the bike. Because remember, it's necessary to advance in the game. I get the bike and explore to acquire the Fly HM. Following that, I got on the bike road and killed many people on one leg. Safari City. With no time to waste, I go straight to the gym, and gosh, is my starter useless. Sure, he's under level, but there's a reason he is. I go through all the trainers, and thanks to a map on the internet, get through the invisible walls onto the gym leader. His coughing was destroyed instantly, like literally, since he's self-destruct. Muck. He took out my Gyarados because I was too impatient to heal him. Then my Jolteon, because yes, I know the name now, does a bit more damage before going down. And then my Charmeleon takes care of the rest and the next Pokemon. The final Pokemon, Weezing. I sacrificed my Nidoking to get my Charmeleon back and running, since he now knows Flamethrower, which means he's somewhat usable now. I go down, remember you need Surf, and head to the Safari. I somewhat remember the path, but not fully. I didn't make it in time. Alright, round 2. This time I remember the path better, so I get to the Gold Teeth and actually make it. I teach Surf to my Gyarados, which is now probably my strongest Pokemon. At this point, it had been a while since I didn't play this game, and so my memory of the late game was pretty bad, and I didn't even know where to go. So once I arrived at the Articuno cave, I forgot what the heck to do, where to go, how to get strength, everything. But since my Charmeleon is close to evolving, I decide to EXP him for a bit to get Fly, to come back to the first town, to surf down to the next island, to get the next badge. Woof! Pokemon, everyone. Speaking of all the time we wasted, how's my foot doing? Well, since the unfortunate change of rules, I started to alternate between my two legs, so as soon as one started to hurt, I decided to use the other one. This was a good method, but kind of ruined the challenge, so I am not proud of myself. I then arrive at the manor, and I advance to my setup to look up on the internet how to do this shit. I do the whole thing, it's boring, so I'll skip it for here. Important thing, I grabbed the good old Blizzard TM, which will become crucial. You will see why later. I then go to the next gym and answer the stupid questions. I definitely got all of them. Editor, don't show that one. No, don't. It is now time to go back to our hometown, say hi to mom, and finally enter the last gym of our run. After struggling to find my way because I'm stupid, I fight Giovanni and destroy his entire team with Surf. Now that I have 8 badges, I can finally attend the Elite Four. But before that, there is one final thing I need to do, and that is to get the Strength HM. After googling where it is, I swear I'm still on one leg, I teach it to my good old Raticate, which is now back to being useful. It is now time to battle our rival. I started with the wrong Pokemon and even thought that ground moves worked on flying type Pokemon. Whoops. I then switched to my Jolteon to take care of this bird, and then my Gyarados took care of his next 2 Pokemon. Execute then got destroyed by my starter, and as for Blastoid, he was destroyed thanks to Hyper Beam. Oh, wait, my starter finished the job with Fly. Alakazam was his last Pokemon. I then sent out my Raticate as a sacrifice to the gods to heal the Charizard. And then I got one shot and had to restart the entire thing. This time I started with the right Pokemon, and everything went way better. Onto Victory Road it is. But before that, there was something I wanted to do. Someone I wanted to get. A Pokemon that could potentially destroy the entire game and speed up the completion time considerably. This is when I went to the Articuno cave. I googled the video to show me how to do it. Once I got there, I did a bit of damage to it. I forgot that I had a Master Ball, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't fly back to Victory Road. With the power of the internet, I knew what to do. But I decided to take a break. Even just beyond the pain in my feet, I had now been playing for 3 hours and a half, so I was just plain tired and exhausted. That took a while, but then I got back to it. 3 hours and 45 minutes. I was now in front of the first Elite Four member. I didn't Google what their team was, so I sent out my Charizard against the Pokemon with water type moves. That's a good idea. The first fight seemed completely undoable now that I lost 2 Pokemons, but I had a trick up my sleeve. Revives. I had been casually using them during this run, but they would become a crucial part of the Elite Four fights, since I was very underleveled. But even before the fight ended, there was a problem. Unfortunately, I had to touch grass and go to the restaurant with my mom. Cringe. So not only did I alternate between my feet and take breaks, I did it in 2 sessions. I know that some of you will be disappointed, but on to the next day. I thought I would need some EXP, so I spent a solid 20 minutes in the caves before I realized it was not going to be possible. But not all was sad and pepperoni. I managed to catch 2 high-level Pokemons, Machamp and Arbok, which would serve as high HP sacrifices to heal the real gangster. I then went into the first Elite Four member, more prepared this time. I lost only 1 time before managing to surpass the Ice Age. I then went ahead, healed and revived all my Pokemons for the next battle. I thought the next one would be an easy clap, but no, unfortunately. It took me 3 tries, and even then, I won only by a hair. My healing items were being consumed very rapidly. This is how you can see that I am drastically unprepared for the Elite Four. But unfortunately, I cannot spend too much time for the EXP. That would take way too long for my current leg power. I then went into the next member and unfortunately got stopped. And it took me 2 tries before finally finishing this old lady off. Wait, no, don't say it like that. Koga was next, and yes, I know his name. Editor, is that right? For the life of me, I could not get past him. First of all, his Gyarados had Hyper Beam, and then his Aerodactyl had a rock type move, which destroyed my Articuno. This is before I realized this thing is a rock type, and that I could just use my Gyarados on him. This thing took ages, and I'm a bit sad to admit it, but I use save states. At this point, the run isn't as legit as I hoped it would be, but well, what can you do? Here was the final strategy I developed to beat this monster. First, use an electric wave on this Gyarados and pray that he misses everything. Then use my own Gyarados to deal with his Aerodactyl, and then use Articuno's ice type moves to deal with the rest of his Pokemon. We are now onto the final champ. This also took a tremendous amount of time, and I didn't use the save states before getting to him, so I had to try the 4th member again. My feet were crying. Now, it was actually time to get there. Here is my final attempts. After hours of playing this grueling game with only 1 foot to rely on, I started up with my Jolteon and paralyzed his Pidgeot, which allowed me to take him down with no damage to my counter. Then was his Rhydon, which I took care with a single surf. Alakazam got paralyzed, which allowed me to get a hit in, and also make it possible for my Articuno to defeat him after my Jolteon passed away. It was now time for his Arcanine, which was no big deal for my Gyarados. After a pathetic brawl with Executor, in which my starter died, told you he was utterly useless, I took down the remaining of his health with my Articuno. I then sent out Machamp to get some damage in, but most importantly, kill the team. I then paralyzed Blastoise for some good measure, and finish him off with Hyper Beams. But unfortunately, it was not enough because he healed. Articuno spamming Fly was now my last resort. Please make this end. I don't want to spend any more time doing this. He healed again! I was still spamming Fly, but a problem arose. My PP was getting significantly lower. But you know why we love Pokemon, baby? Yes! 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 Oh, I can stop being on one leg. Oh my god. Yes, yes, yes.